Hello, hey friend. Oh, girl, I'm tired. And you tired. I know you tired. Ooh. All right, it's been about 5 minutes. Got a couple people in here. Welcome to Reading What Miss Taylor Said. My name is Taylor. I'm also known as Miss Taylor Said, and I started this show on November 30th of 2020 in an effort to accomplish some goals that I have. One of those goals being is to actually read the books that I have. I've collected a lot of books over the years, and I haven't read all of them. So I want to actually finish the books that I own. So that's the first reason why I started the show. The second reason I started the show is because I want to get more comfortable with reading aloud in front of an audience. The things I want to do with my career are going to involve me reading off of teleprompters, scripts, cue cards, speeches, my own work. Like reading is going to be a fundamental part. Reading aloud in front of people is going to be a fundamental part of what I do with my career. So I want to go ahead and get comfortable with it now. And to be honest, y'all, listen, I'm still going to need a coach or something to help me out. Welcome in. And the third reason why I started this show is because I want to get back into public speaking. I used to do public speaking when I was in college and when I was in high school. I even have an award for it from high school. And even honestly, one of my first places of practicing public speaking was my first job at Laser Quest, because I had to get up in front of a group of people and talk to them and explain rules and things. It was fun. Best job ever. But I want to get back into public speaking. I started when I was in high school, and I got away from it after college. And I'm turning 30 this year, so I want to get back into public speaking. I want to get that engagement, practicing and everything. So thank you guys for being here. Welcome to Reading What Miss Taylor Said. I usually am high energy, and today I don't have it. So my options were either to be really chill and mellow on the show. That's not very atypical of me. My options were either to be really chill and mellow on the show or to cancel it so that I could get my mind together. But I made a commitment to keep going, to keep, doing the episodes, because we're on the road to 100. This is episode number 67. I'm very proud of myself. I'm very proud of us. I'm thankful for you guys coming back. I'm really proud of us for the work that we're doing, because it's not easy what we're doing. When we take these things that we're learning from the show, learning from the books that we're reading, and applying them to our lives, it's not easy. And there are days like today is hard for me. Today is a hard, day where it's just like, things are applicable, but they don't apply today. You know what I mean? I have decided to wear white today. As you can see, I feel like me wearing a hoodie on the show signifies when I'm just like not feeling it today. But I'm okay with that because I'm here. Now, did I partake in things that are lit on fire before I got here? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. So that's going to help with the mellow and the calming of the nerves. You know what I'm saying? So yesterday we were talking about our true selves and what it means to be our true selves and who we are. Listen, I had to take care of myself. Mama got to take care of herself. Just so you know, before I get into what we were reading, is what we were talking about yesterday. The book we are reading is Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents by Dr. Lindsay Gibson, PhD, or Psych D. Yes, she's a psychological doctor. Anyway, yesterday we were talking about what is the true self. And if you missed yesterday's episode, you can go on Instagram, you can go on Facebook, and now you can go on YouTube. I wasn't able to live stream from YouTube yesterday, so I had to do the video from Facebook. But it's on every platform that I am on. Well, not every platform that I'm on. It's on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Every single episode of Reading What Miss Taylor Said is on YouTube. So if you want to catch up, if you want to start with our first book, this is our fourth book now. The first book we read was Abundance Now by Lisa Nichols. The second book we read was The Four Agreements, which had the same author as the third book that we read, which was The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. And the fourth book that we are on is Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. Yesterday, we were talking about the true self and understanding who we are for real, not who our parents trained us to be in order to accommodate them. Let me see. There was one thing that I definitely read that stood out to me, but I read it multiple times yesterday on the show. So if you go back and watch yesterday's episode, if you missed it, you're good. And we're going to go ahead and go into waking up from an outdated role self. Now, in the earlier chapters, your role self is the person you pretended to be, you may have pretended to be to accommodate what your parents' version of you is. So, there's who you are in front of your parents, which is not who you really are. And that's why parents would be like, who your kid is when they're at school, that's who they really are because they're in front of their friends. And I don't believe that either. That's a role self that we created as well. There's, who you are when you're in your bedroom by yourself, sitting in front of the mirror. There's who you are in front of your family. There's who you are. There's who you are in front of your parents. There's who you are in front of your siblings. There's who you are in front of the people at school. There's who you are in front of the people at church. And maybe that's not y'all. Maybe that's just me, but that's who I was. I had different versions of myself for the different parts of me. And then even within my own true self, I felt like I had two versions of myself. And that came out in my writing when I was in high school. But learning and understanding that all of those make up who I am, but I had to filter out the things that were not authentic to me, because there's for example, one thing that I've been working with my therapist on and working on for myself is the way I dress. Like right now, I'm wearing something that's covering me and all of that because I'm, wanting comfort and everything. But for the most part, I joke with my best friend and I'm like, I know how to be sexy and fully covered. You see everything, but you see nothing at the same time because I'm covered from head to toe. And, that's something that my mother would be proud of, because it means I'm covered. It means I'm not showing my skin. I'm not showing my goodies, and men can't look at me. Which, why wouldn't I want men to look at me? I'm 29 years old. Why wouldn't I not want men to? I'm 29 years old and unmarried. Why would I not want men to look at me? I do not understand. I don't understand anyway. And I mean, ooh, well, I'm sharing things that, whatever. Um, See, and this is why I should have canceled the damn show, because I'm feeling all vulnerable and wanting to say things that I need to say to my therapist, not y'all. But here we are. But role self, talking about role self, talking about how I dress, right? So there's a certain way I've dressed for a long time to accommodate my mother and what her version of me is. Her version of me is that I'm classy. I'm her classy daughter. And I don't believe that classy and revealing are mutually exclusive. Like, I believe that they can exist in the same world. You know what I'm saying? And so I've been working on that because, like, I went to Vegas and I felt weird about wearing, revealing clothing. And it's just like, why do you feel weird about that? You love your body. You know you love your body because when you're at home, you're very comfortable with your body. You're very happy to look at you. You don't feel bad when you look at yourself in the mirror or anything like that. Like, you love your body. So what's your issue with expressing that you love your body through your clothing or lack thereof? Dun-dun-dun. Like, what's the issue? And it's because it's my mama's voice in my head telling me that, either hearing her call someone else a whore or a slut for wearing certain outfits, or her saying that it's like that. And am I spilling my mama's tea right now? Yup. Because it's my experience and it's my life. And I still, when I make choices, like, I've literally gotten phone calls and text messages from my mom before where she's fussed at me for wearing an outfit to the club that might have been a little revealing. And it's literally only like one section is too revealing. It's either my chest or my butt area. Usually if one of them is more revealed, the other one's covered, because that's just how I roll, But I've gotten calls and texts and stuff from her, calling me, telling me I look like a whore, or no, not, she didn't say I look like a whore. She was like, it's dressed like one. And I should respect myself and stuff like that. And I internalized that. Then, you throw in that I've been in relationships for the last 11 years. This is like my first time being single for real. And I've been in relationships with men for the last 11 years. And that good old thing, you need to respect this relationship, cover up, respect our relationship. Now, everybody won't like that. The one person I dated was very encouraging of the thoughtware, as it was so called. But the other two were like, cover up, please. Thank you. I would really appreciate that, because I don't want nobody else seeing my girlfriend. So, role self, that's just one entity of my life that I created a role self for. One. Now think about how many layers of your life you or me or we have created role selves for, to accommodate what our parents think of us. Hell, there are people that create, I am one of those people, and I know other people who've done it too, who create like second and third social media accounts because they have one that their parents are on and then one that their friends are on. Now, of course, you don't want to like post, like, if you post like dirty jokes or whatever for your friends, you don't want your mama to see that. I definitely understand that, but it's deeper than that. There's a version of ourselves that we don't allow our parents to see because we know that they're going to be judgmental. And it's who we actually are. And it's who we spend most of our lives being. But for the crack in the window of our lives that our parents can actually see through, we like will adjust to make sure that whenever they look through that crack, it's what they want to see. Why? Because role self, because you're not being your true self. Be your true self. It is unfortunate that, and this is if this applies to you. If it doesn't apply, whatever. It is unfortunate that your parent can't appreciate who you really are and doesn't value who you really are and didn't encourage you to be who you were from the very beginning of your existence. It is quite unfortunate that they missed out on how incredible you could have always been. I mean, it's not that you weren't incredible in your role self, but man, imagine if you were allowed to be authentic from the time that you were born. Imagine if you were not made to cry. I mean, even in infancy, if you were not made to cry because you desired your mother's love. Imagine if you were not like told to be quiet or stop making that mess or stop doing this or stop doing that by your parent because it was inconvenient to them and they didn't feel like dealing with it. Imagine if you were able to fully express who you are from the beginning of your existence rather than having to wait until you in your 20s and 30s to find out that, oh shit, I haven't been living as myself this whole time to accommodate some people that don't care. If I'm happy, just care if I make them look good. Am I projecting right now? Possibly. But is it relatable? Definitely. Imagine how much you could have done. And I'm not talking about accomplishments like becoming famous or getting a lot of money, but imagine the amount of things you could have created. Imagine the amount of impact you could have had. Imagine how more advanced your social skills and your actual intelligence would be if you were allowed to fully explore who you are as a person from the beginning of your existence and understand where your actual strengths lie based on who you are, not who your parents wanted you to be. And if you were able to explore that at an early age and that was encouraged and supported. Imagine if your silence and your sensitivity and your shyness or whatever thing that might have been like frustrating for your parent to deal with is within your personality or how you handled your emotions. Imagine if that was nurtured like by your parent or whoever raised you. It is unfortunate. It is unfortunate that the people that raised you, the people that brought you into this world, if they fall under the category of an emotionally immature parent that required you, especially if you're an internalizer, that required you to be something you're not, so that you could survive, it is unfortunate that they missed out on you and your full self. And I am so sorry to you that they missed out. It sucks for them. It sucks for them. Like, it sucks to suck right now. Because, wow, you're fucking dope. You are dope. And it is unfortunate that your parent missed out on that. Or the people that raised you missed out on that. Because everybody didn't grow up with their parents. So the people that raised you, if they're emotionally immature, welcome in. We're reading Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. I have not actually read anything today. I just was talking about what we talked about yesterday. Let's go ahead and actually get into the book. So the next section in Breaking Down and Awakening Our True Selves is waking up from an outdated role self. People often keep playing their childhood role self into adulthood because they believe it keeps them safe and is the only way to be accepted. What did I just say? Bruh. People often keep playing their childhood role self far into adulthood because they believe it keeps them safe and is the only way to be accepted. But when the true self has had enough of the role playing, people often get a wake-up call in the form of unexpected emotional symptoms. Virginia's story. Virginia's wake-up call came in the form of sudden onset of panic attacks that occurred when she felt criticized by tyrannical and judgmental older brother, Brian. Ah, hey, Brian, you're not judgmental. Virginia had always worried constantly about what people thought of her, so much that social events were exhausting triathlons of reading other people, trying not to give offense, and imagining imminent rejection. At work, she miserably obsessed over how people saw her. Virginia came to therapy to get a grip of her panic, and did, but she also ended up realizing how unaccepted she felt as a child. Through therapy, Virginia realized that Brian had the same disapproving manner as their deceased father, who had always left Virginia feeling inept and unloved. She began to understand that her social anxiety was a reflection of her childhood role, in which she repeatedly and unsuccessfully tried to win the love of her critical and disdainful father. Her subconscious healing fantasy was that one day she would finally be correct enough to gain his approval. She had unconsciously taken on the role of playing the scared, inadequate child to her father's wise and powerful persona. And now Brian was his stand-in. Welcome in. It is. Virginia's anxiety attacks signaled that she was beginning to question her childhood belief that the authority figure is always right. She told me, if people expressed any displeasure with me, especially men, I got frightened and automatically assumed I must be wrong. But now she was able to see her relationship with Brian more clearly. I've been putting him on a pedestal like he's some kind of god. He doesn't care about me, yet I let him determine whether I feel good or not. I've always been so concerned about his opinion, but now I'm getting a bit more self-contained. I feel as if I'm just learning to be an individual. I literally was just talking about this with me and my clothes. I love myself. I love this show. I love doing this. Without the wake-up call of her panic attacks, Virginia might have kept on deferring to others in a cloud of self-deprecating anxiety. Her panic attacks ushered in a new consciousness in which she no longer needed to accept the story of male infallibility she'd been indoctrinated with as a child, a story that had been destroying her self-esteem as a young woman, as an adult woman. I don't know why I said young. As an adult woman, her role self of being the weak and confused little girl collapsed as she realized that she could choose whether she wanted contact with Brian or not. She could finally be aware of how she really felt about her father and brother, who jointly had made her the least important member of the family. The spell was broken. Not Virginia was the Meg of the family, and her brother were Peter and Chris. Her brother and father were Peter and Chris. It's unfortunate. Again, I will reiterate, it is unfortunate when the people that raise us miss out on who we really are and don't get to appreciate who we really are because they're so obsessed with making us into something they want us to be. It is unfortunate for them. Am I in a mood? A little bit. Next exercise. So we have another exercise. Probably going to want to do this exercise during the playback or come back and watch it. So we're about 26 minutes in if you want to do this exercise. Releasing yourself from a self-defeating role. Take a moment now to write a short personality description of someone in your life who makes you feel nervous or small. Next, think about how you behave around that person. Next, think about how you behave around that person, and then write a short description of the role self you've been playing with the person. See if you can spot a healing fantasy that might be driving you to seek this person's attention. Gosh, I can't read today. See if you can spot a healing fantasy that might be driving you to seek this person's acceptance at all costs. How much time have you spent wishing this person would act differently towards you? Do you think you might be playing out a self-effacing role that no longer serves you? Are you ready to see yourself differently and relate to this person as you would to anyone else? Yeah, y'all enjoy doing that on the playback if y'all choose. Or just think about those things right now as we're going into the next section. Waking up to what you really feel. is the next section. Sometimes giving up a healing fantasy of how we will finally win love means we have to face unwanted feelings about people close to us. Many of us tend to feel guilty and ashamed for feelings we deem to be unacceptable. We're convinced that the only way to be a good person is to repress these feelings. However, if we quash our real feelings for too long, I'm going to say squash and just assume that the S is missing. However, we squash our real feelings for too long, they may bubble up in ways that force us to stop and look at what's wrong. Tilde's story. Tilde had so much to feel grateful for that she couldn't stop feeling guilty. She'd been born to a single mother who did domestic work to support them both. Her mother, Kasha, her mother, Kasha, had come to the United States from Sweden I know I'm saying that wrong and I feel so bad. Had come to the United States from Sweden to make a better life for her child. She scraped together every cent she could earn so that Tilde could get a good education. Tilde had taken full advantage of her opportunities and eventually earned an advanced degree in graphic design on a scholarship. She was nearing the end of her training when she came to see me for an episode of major depression. Although she was still able to work, every morning began with a struggle to take action. As soon as she got out of bed, she longed to crawl back under the covers. We traced the onset of her depression to phone calls to her mother, who was becoming increasingly petulant and bitter as Tilde neared completion of her studies. Kasha's had always been emotional and never let Tilde forget how she single-handedly raised her after being abandoned by Tilde's father and coming to the United States. In every conversation, Kasha complained about physical ailments and people who had recently done her wrong. Tilde was sympathetic, and besides, she felt she owed her mother everything, but the strain of listening helplessly to Kasha's angry misery was wearing her down. Tilde felt that nothing she said to her mother ever seemed to help. I asked Tilde how she felt when Kasha brushed off her sympathy and continued with her complaints. At first, Tilde would only say how guilty she felt for not being able to make her mother feel better and what a bad daughter she was for enjoying her life while Kasha suffered. But when I persisted and asked how it felt in her body when she heard her mother's voice, Tilde finally let herself feel it. She looked stunned as she identified the feeling. "I don't like her," she said in a whisper. This was Tilde's emotional truth, which had been at war with her childhood healing fantasy of finally giving Kasha enough love to make up for her disappointing life. Tilde's exaggerated guilt and gratitude had prevented her from experiencing her true emotions about her mother. The ironclad family story was that Kasha had sacrificed everything and therefore deserved Tilde's total attention and devotion. When Tilde began to resent her mother's ceaseless complaining, her guilt turned her own unacknowledged anger into depression. Tilde's depression lifted as soon as she accepted her genuine feelings towards Kasha, finally allowing herself to know that she didn't like her mother, even though she was grateful to her, released her from an impossible bind. She realized that she could still have contact with her mother, but that she didn't have to pretend to feel the right way. Sorry, y'all. I did not adequately feed myself today. So my energy is low. Parents have a really good way of making us feel like we owe them because of the sacrifices they made. And if they have not resolved their own feelings about the sacrifices they made, and accepted that ultimately it came from choices that were made, or choices that were made by others that were not kind, you know, they can accept that it's not up to their child to make it up to them. It's not up to children to make up to their parents what their parents chose to do. It's not up to the children to make that up. Because like the TikTok lady said, parents owe us everything and we owe them nothing. Like, and when I say we owe them nothing, I mean, like, I don't mean that. And like, if you want to be giving and loving to your parents, there's definitely nothing wrong with that. If you want to express appreciation to your parents, there's definitely nothing wrong with that. If you want to give back to your parents because of the sacrifices they made, there truly is nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful. However, your parents should not be guilting you into giving back to them because of the sacrifices they made. They should not be holding it over your head that they made those sacrifices. It should just be something that you recognize as your child, or you find out, or you see and observe. You may happen to see it and observe it, but it's not for, they should not be putting that on you because that's not your problem that they made those sacrifices. But I know that that's not going to be easy to hear for some people, but it is what it is. I keep looking directly into these lights and they hurt my eyes. All right, next exercise. We have another exercise. Y'all ain't gonna hold you. This episode's gonna be short. Yeah, this episode's about to be short. All right, we're gonna do this exercise and then I'm going to be... Actually, y'all, kids should just experience good parenting, not be held responsible for the cost of it. And that's coming from an excellent parent. How do I know she's an excellent parent? I have watched her be an excellent parent. I watched her be loving to her kids. I watched her kids be the happiest boys I've ever seen, the most expressive and free boys I've ever seen. And it's not because she doesn't discipline them or doesn't hold them accountable and set boundaries with them. No, she does. But she's incredibly loving to her kids. So I actually am done for the night, y'all. I don't have much more left in me, and I don't want to keep yawning. So I know that this was not a particularly excited show, but I think I said some pretty necessary things, and I was vulnerable. So I'm thankful for you all being here. Thankful for you guys, bearing with me when I'm not in the best of moods. Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for watching. If you're not following me, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Tumblr, all of that. MissTaylorSaid, MissTaylorSaid. I hope y'all have a great day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow at 7-ish. Bye. Bye. And see you later, YouTube.